Welcome back, everybody. Got a recent thrift finds video for you today. First off, I want to thank everybody that watched a couple of my recent videos. The Frankie Paul Reggae Spotlight Tribute thingy. I posted that. I kind of did that one on the spur of the moment. I thought I'd better do it since he'd passed away. Didn't really expect a whole lot of people to watch it, and indeed it started off pretty slow, but it ended up taking off and became one of my most watched videos ever. So thanks everybody that watched and commented on that one. Conversely, my last thrift find video didn't seem to do that well. Some people were saying it didn't show up in their feeds, so I don't know how that goes. Anyways, on to some recent thrift store digs. I'm going to start off with a real strange one I found in one of my local shops. This is a Canadian one. And there's a real mystery behind this one. Sleeve is called 5-Man Cargo with Ronnie Mitchell. And when I pulled this out, I noticed that the title on the LP did not match the title on the sleeve. It says Reaction with Peter Marino on this very cool Periwinkle Records label. Early 70s on this one, I believe, 72, 73-ish. Canadian kind of rock with some funk on it. Now the mystery part is, this is the proper sleeve for it because the correct track listing is on the back. Kind of looks pasted on. Recorded at SoundCloud, promoted by K&G Promotions, Flamingo Nightclub, Oakville, Ontario. Found it all the way out here in BC. But the interesting thing is this LP on the title does not exist, so far as I can tell. 5-Man Cargo was the name of a band in Vancouver in kind of the late 60s, kind of garage band, but they never released a record. And in a further twist, there's no member named Ronnie Mitchell that anybody knows about, any of the Canadian music scholars I've been in touch with. Although the Reaction with Peter Marino record does appear on Discogs with a proper sleeve. You should check it out if you're up for a laugh. Rockin' the early 70s fashions, sweater vests and turtleneck style. I'm actually going to needle drop the heck out of this one. I think it's pretty obscure enough I can get away with it. Now this LP is a real mix of real loungy covers of songs of the day and a couple of originals. This one's kind of one of the poppier ones on here. Kind of 70s AM pop. There's also a cover of Isley Brothers' It's Your Thing, which has got a drum break on it. And a cover of Barry White's Just a Little More Baby. Carole King's I Feel the Earth Move. A few other songs. Gets very loungy in places, but it's got some cool stuff too. One of the keyboard player on this band was in another Toronto area band called The Magic Bubble. I'm going to give you a taste of those drums. So there's some funk on here. That's a Barry White tune, so I'm going to cut it off there. And there's another original song on here that's pretty cool called Welcome to the Country. I'm going to let that one ride out. Some greasy kind of Hammond organ throughout this LP. Cool stuff. In the proper sleeve, this actually goes for a few bucks on Discogs. Couple other thrift finds, a couple of soul compilations. Soul Oldies Volume 2 on the Unart label. I think that's a budget imprint of United Artists. Some cool early R&B stuff on there. The Clovers, Love Potion number 9, Jive 5, I'm a Happy Man, that's a good tune. Garnet Mims, Cry Baby, later covered by Janis Joplin. Anthony and the Imperials, Tears on My Pillow, some classics on there, a couple instrumentals as well. And another one from the same store, Original Oldies, Volume 17, on the Springboard label this time. Ostensibly a rock compilation as far as the liner notes go. Looks like that's what the series was focused on. But basically there's a lot of soul and early R&B on here. You got Joe Simon, Gene Chandler, Betty Everett's got a wicked tune on here, You're No Good, that's pretty well known. The Impressions on here, Little Richard, Wilson Pickett, dope stuff. Yeah. Couple of country finds. This one was a blind buy. I didn't know what this was. Blanchard and Morgan's, obviously kind of late 60s, early 70s-ish. It's on Marble Arch. Wayside Records. Blanchard and Morgan, they're a duo, kind of in that June and Johnny style of female country duetting. Apparently Tennessee Birdwalk was kind of a novelty hit for them. They do a lot of songs about birds on here. Big Black Bird, Yellow-Bellied Sapsucker, Humphrey the Camel, another kind of novelty song. I don't really care for the novelty songs, but the rest of the material on here is pretty decent. Found one by the Carter family, early 70s on this one. Traveling Minstrel Band and Family. Two Eye Columbia, pretty decent shape, cover kind of coming apart there. Johnny Cash is adding his vocals in a couple of songs on here. Keeping on the country tip, legendary Lefty Frizzell. First one I've ever picked up by him, 1973, ABC Records. Very nice shape here, just classic country. This one I was super stoked to pick up. This is one I did not have from her. Loretta Lynn, Don't Come Home a-Drinkin' with Lovin' on Your Mind, one of her classics. And you usually find these things pretty hammered in the wild, but this one is actually very decent. Nice Decca copy there. So super stoked to have that one. Found this one, and again, you don't see this in really good shape that often, or at least I don't. But I found this one and took the plunge. The Mahogany soundtrack. You all know the theme song by Theme from Mahogany by Diana Ross. That's pretty much the only vocal on here. The rest is more soundtrack, instrumental music, maybe a little light vocals here and there. A bit of kind of a jazzier sound in some of the instrumentals. Also a couple of kind of disco funk cuts. Composed and produced by Michael Masser, but Jermaine Jackson actually composes the music for a couple of songs on here, or writes the music. So pretty good stuff, even if you've heard the title track a few too many times on the radio. This was one of those weird blind buys, the Winter Consort. Late 60s on this one, I believe. Kind of hard to describe this one. It's kind of a mix of world and classical folk music, I guess you would say. Not really jazz so much. They get into a bit of Brazilian music on here. All instrumental. Paul Winter, leader of the band. I think he was the son of a jazz player. Hawaiian one, I found. Makaha, Sons of Nihau, No Cristo. Somebody left their name on there, of course. On the, what's that called? Pokey Records. Sometime in the 70s on this one, 1976. And this is notable. Makaha Sons of Nihau was the group that gave its start to, I'm going to have trouble pronouncing his name, but Israel Kamakawoli. I've totally butchered that, I'm sure. But he's pretty well known, put out a lot of solo records before passing away in the 1990s. And this was the group that gave him his start. This is actually mostly a religious album in the Hawaiian language. So it's got a very hushed, kind of reverent sound to it. So interesting find there. The Brazilian guitar player Luiz Bonfá. I found two by him in very nice shape. First one is Brazilian Guitar. This is apparently his North American debut on Capitol. Originally released around 1957, I believe. And I found one later one from 10 years later, 1967, Louise Bonfire, just self-titled. That one is on Dot label. Very nice condition on both of these. One for the local music collection. I'd seen this one before and not bought it, so when I came across another copy, I picked it up. It's locally released out of Vancouver, Canada. It is Joseph, the kind of rock opera, rock oratorio they call it here. But this is a local production that was put on in Vancouver and Victoria, BC in 1970, and they put a record out of it on the Kerigma label. Music by basically a group called The Caravan, which is pretty obscure even locally, with the Children's Choir of First United Church of Victoria. So kind of interesting find there. Like I said, one for the local music collection. The Shadows 20 Golden Greats. Don't see a lot of the Shadows in my area. This is an actual UK pressing on EMI. From 1977, beautiful condition on this one. Great early 60s guitar instrumentals. Kind of UK's answer to the Ventures, I guess, or vice versa. I don't know which one came out first. One of the better thrift finds I've had recently. This was a record I didn't even know existed until joining the vinyl community comparatively recently. But it is, don't laugh, The Carpenters. This is their debut called Offering. Karen and Richard Carpenter. Karen was 19 years old at the time. It's on the A&M label. 1969, I believe, on this one. I'm going to go out on a limb and say. Has echoes of their future style. Bigger success was Around the Corner. This album didn't do that well. They had a cover of the Beatles', I think, Ticket to Ride, which sort of made it into the upper reaches of the charts, but didn't really do that well. Kind of the hippie, folky, baroque, sunshine poppy, with hints of the AM soft rock that, of course, they would crush the charts with in a couple of years' time. The late great Karen Carpenter. For many years, it was not cool to listen to their music at all. I wouldn't have been caught dead with that record in my teens. In the 90s, things started to turn around with that tribute album that came out, and people started to talk about them more and respect Karen Carpenter's vocals in particular. I found a few records with no sleeves. I don't normally buy these, but these were 25 cents each. I could not leave these behind. Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? I have that one on a US pressing. I think this is the Canadian. My other copy does have a sleeve. Now I've got an extra plain copy. And these are a pretty decent condition too for not being sleeved. Rotary Connection, Songs. Have that one as well. Another one I have, Gets Bird, Jazz Samba. And this is the only one I do not have. Bud Shank Quartet, Flute and Alto on World Pacific for 25 cents. Why not? Last up, a very recent thrift find. I went out digging on Friday in the city. Had immediate luck at one of my first thrift stops. I'll show you what I got here. This is one I have already, but I think I'm going to be upgrading to this copy. It is Allman Brothers Live at Fillmore East. Now my other copy is the red and green Atlantic label, but this one is actually Red Atlantic, Canadian original. And pretty decent shape too. Only a couple of spots where the sleeve has got some tears. Jeff Beck, Truth. That's on Epic. Cover coming apart on that one as well, but vinyl pretty decent shape. Edwin Hawkins Singers, Let Us Go Into the House of the Lord, classic gospel, 1969 on the Buddha label. I think I have a 70s reissue of this one. Ziggy Marley and the Melody Makers, Play the Game Right. There were two copies of this one at the thrift store. It looked like some kind of record company guy had dropped off some old records or something. They were all promos. And this one was here. Promo copy of Ziggy Marley and the Melody Makers, Play the Game Right, 1986. Very early single from them. Title of their debut LP, I believe. Bad Company, Run with the Pack. Don't have any Bad Company in my collection. That is on Swan Song. Last up, this one of course I have already. You gotta have this one. George Harrison, All Things Must Pass. Now the box is kind of flattened on this one. I don't know if that's repairable, but it's got all 3 records in pretty decent shape. George Harrison, All Things Must Pass. I'm going to have to check it with my copy and see if this is an upgrade or not. Maybe do some Frankensteining. Okay folks, that's what I've got for you today. I have a whack of record fair and record store finds. I'm going to do a separate video for those, kind of as a part 2 to this one. So I hope everybody's doing well out there, and take care.